Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of July 10th, 2025. I'm your host, Sharifa Muhammad, MGT.
I'm Colonel AC Ogintoy, an infantry officer. The July 10th update reflects a broad operational synchronization across all Russian force groupings, with a strategic emphasis on deep strike disruption, EW suppression, and attritional degradation of infantry and elite units. The destruction of Western-supplied radar and artillery systems underscores Russia's persistent targeting of NATO-provided C4ISR enablers. Ukrainian losses in EW infrastructure, logistics hubs, and personnel across 6 regions suggest rising strain on command continuity and rotational depth. The situation remains dynamic, with increasing vulnerabilities on Ukraine's central and eastern fronts.
Welcome to Frontline Updates, the podcast that brings you in-depth insights into military operations from those leading them on the ground. Today, we're joined by Colonel AC Ogintoy, an infantry officer monitoring critical missions on the progress of the special military operation as of today. Colonel Ogintoy, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Let's start with the most strategic development. We've heard reports of another wave of Russian long-range strikes, this time on Kiev itself. Can you walk us through what happened?
Yes. On the night of July 9th going into the 10th, Russian forces launched a group strike using long-range precision munitions and strike drones. The targets weren't just symbolic, they were military-industrial facilities in Kyiv and the infrastructure of a military airfield. The reported objective was the disruption of logistical and aerospace support nodes, and according to official briefings, all designated targets were hit. What's significant here is the continued focus on supply chain degradation. Russia isn't merely looking for tactical victories, they are pursuing operational paralysis by attacking what enables Ukraine to fight: repair depots, storage hubs, and forward deployment staging areas. It's a layered campaign that goes beyond the battlefield.
That's a serious escalation in terms of strategic depth. On the ground, what's happening in the northern sectors, particularly in Sumy and Kharkiv?
The North Group has been steadily improving its tactical posture, and the current operations focused on areas like Rizivka, Kondrativka, and Unikovka. They engaged Ukrainian mechanized, airborne assault, and territorial defense units, inflicting what appears to be significant attrition in both manpower and equipment. In the Kharkiv direction, the story is similar. Russian forces engaged airborne and territorial units around Volchansk and Milov. The pattern here isn't one of deep territorial breakthroughs, but rather of persistent erosion, attacking from multiple flanks to destabilize command control and weaken the cohesion of regional Ukrainian defenses.
Let's shift to the Donetsk region, always a hotspot. What are we seeing from the west, south, and center groups?
It's also worth noting the destruction of multiple 155mm Western artillery systems, especially the US-made M777 howitzers, along with electronic warfare stations. That tells us these were not random artillery duels, these were targeted neutralization efforts. This is where things become operationally impressive. The West Group made advances near Kupiansk and Petroivanivka, targeting Ukrainian mechanized and National Guard brigades. The key here was not just infantry attrition but the destruction of C4ISR assets, radars, EW stations, and ammunition stockpiles.
And the southern group of forces?
Meanwhile, the South Group hit hard in locations like Kostantinivka and Chasiv Yar, targeting elite formations, including the Azov Special Purpose Brigade. They also reportedly neutralized an Israeli Rada radar system, which has been vital for Ukrainian counter-battery efforts.
And the center group of forces?
The center group, however, might have had the most decisive impact. Operating along the Donetsk-Dnipropetrovsk axis, they struck a wide array of brigades, mechanized, marine, airborne, and took more advantageous positions near Krasnoarmysk and Filia. It's a deep and deliberate pressure move. Ukrainian forces lost hundreds in that sector alone, along with 5 artillery systems and advanced Western-made counter-battery radars.
That's a lot of simultaneous pressure across sectors. What about the East and Dnieper groups? Are they exploiting any breakthroughs?
The East Group has been advancing methodically through Ukrainian defenses in Karl Marx, Kamyshevaka, and the surrounding Donetsk-Zaporizhzhia corridor. Their goal appears to be twofold: disrupt lateral reinforcement routes and slowly compress Ukrainian positions along the eastern salient. Ukrainian units there lost tanks, armored vehicles, and additional EW assets, suggesting continued prioritization of command disruption over sheer territorial control.
And the DNEPR group of forces?
As for the Dnieper group, they've been grinding forward in Zaporizhzhia and Kherson, targeting coastal defense and mountain assault brigades. While the numbers are smaller, around 60 Ukrainian servicemen lost, the real story is the destruction of 9 electronic warfare systems and several ammo depots. That implies they're shaping the environment for future riverine or flanking operations, potentially across the Dnieper axis.
With so many fronts active, how should we interpret the overall operational intent behind this latest wave?
What we're witnessing is high-order synchronization. These aren't isolated raids or opportunistic skirmishes. Russia is applying sustained, multi-theater pressure, integrating precision strikes, artillery, UAV saturation, and electronic suppression. By targeting elite brigades, foreign supplied systems, and logistics hubs, they are attempting to force Ukraine into a posture of reaction rather than initiative. The goal appears to be cumulative collapse, not necessarily through territorial seizure, but through exhaustion of manpower, suppression of replenishment, and psychological overmatch. That said, Ukraine is still defending capably across many areas. But the attritional and structural pressure is mounting, and that's where things could tip if replenishment and Western support falter.
Let's get straight to the point. The assassination of SBU Colonel Ivan Voronik in Kyiv has taken everyone by surprise. What do we know about the circumstances of his death?
What we know so far is that Colonel Ivan Voronik, reportedly a senior officer within Ukraine's Security Service, or SBU, was killed in Kiev, shot at close range with a silenced pistol. This wasn't a chaotic battlefield killing. This was the targeted, surgical elimination in the heart of Ukraine's capital. What makes this so extraordinary is not just the hit itself, but who the target was. Voronik is believed to have played a direct role in coordinating sabotage operations on Russian territory, likely involving logistics disruption, infrastructure attacks, or cross-border infiltration. Whether he was a planner or an operator, his profile was high enough to draw serious attention.
There's speculation that this could have been an internal Ukrainian power struggle rather than a foreign-directed killing. What's your assessment?
That's a very plausible line of analysis, and it wouldn't be the first time. Since 2022, Ukraine's intelligence community has faced serious institutional fragmentation. The SBU, the GUR, military intelligence, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and even the State Bureau of Investigations have developed parallel chains of command, often acting semi-independently. There's also been a well-documented struggle for control over budgets, influence, and covert revenue streams. In that environment, assassination isn't just a foreign tool, it can become a mechanism for internal score settling, especially when tensions rise between factions competing for power in wartime. So yes, one scenario is that Voronik was removed not by foreign hands, but by rivals within Ukraine's own apparatus, possibly over jurisdictional disputes or control over sensitive operations.
A final question. Let's explore the other possibility, that this was a foreign-directed assassination. If that's the case, what would it represent strategically?
If this was a Russian-directed killing, it marks a very significant shift in doctrine. Traditionally, Russia has relied on retaliatory or reactive measures, responding to sabotage, drones, or artillery with airstrikes or infrastructure damage. But if Voronik was liquidated for being the architect of cross-border operations, then we are looking at the beginning of a new phase, a move from counter-sabotage to preemptive decapitation strikes. This is where the strategic tone changes. It would signal that Russian intelligence, whether the GRU, FSB, or a hybrid proxy, is now focusing on eliminating the cause rather than responding to the effect. That has major implications for how Ukraine runs its covert campaigns moving forward. It places senior operatives on notice. They are no longer safe behind the front lines.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you for the opportunity. This could be a turning point in the shadow war. For Ukraine, this incident underscores a growing vulnerability, not just in the trenches, but in rear echelon leadership and clandestine networks. Whether this was an inside job or a foreign-directed hit, it exposes a critical gap in counterintelligence and internal security protocols. If senior operatives like Voronik can be taken out in Kiev, the psychological effect is enormous. It chills morale, disrupts planning, and forces covert teams to either go underground or scale back. It may also prompt Western intelligence partners to reevaluate their liaison exposure in Ukraine. For Russia, if this was deliberate, it's a signal: we are no longer absorbing your sabotage, we are eliminating your saboteurs. That signals a shift toward proactive neutralization, and it forces a new risk calculus onto Ukraine's covert actors.
This has been Frontline Updates. Subscribe for daily military briefings and in-depth strategic analysis. Visit our platform for maps, transcripts, and exclusive frontline updates from commanders in theater.